Here we have the continuity details. This is really important if you are someone who requires some very specific timelines that aren't important to the plot overall, but are important to where your characters, what their former experiences might have been. So one of my big ones was my main character's military experience. Most of this never really appears on the page, but it's important for me as a reminder to know where my character is at different times in his life. So if he's having a flashback, if he's going back to 1993, I need him to go back to the same place in 1993 and not a different place. So as I'm editing, I can have this as like my double check to make sure, okay, what is he really supposed to be in this location? Or did he have this job at this time? And as long as I can cross check, then I'm good to go. And then I also kept some of the aspects that are more important to my plot line in here as well. And so that's when we get into like the very specific deployment information. So everything from Fort Drum down is all very specific things that happened in the course of the deployment. Some of that got worked in directly on the page in the moment, and then some of it was stuff that was observed from a distance. But regardless, I needed to know when those things happened so I could make sure that I stayed consistent. The same went for my main character, Anna. I needed to know where she lived because there are multiple times where she thinks about the places that she's lived and how those have changed her as a person. So I need to make sure that she's going back to the same places. That was actually one that I had to sit down and draw it on paper first to make sure that it really was lining up properly. All right, and now we'll get into characters. This is the fun part. It's a little more streamlined than if you like to use character sheets. An editor is not going to want to read your whole character sheet. So Annalise is my main character. Because I put them alphabetically, she just happens to be the first one, which works out perfectly. So here's how to best use this section. Ages of your characters at different points in the story should be associated with their character name, what they look like, especially because every time I read an author telling me what someone's hair color is, doesn't matter where it comes up in the book, I'm going back to their style sheet to make sure it hasn't changed. So eye color, hair color, their interests, parts of their personality, all of those things are nice to have in one handy place to reference to make sure that the characters stay consistent. Or if they're inconsistent for a reason. There's nothing wrong with that inconsistency, but it has to happen for a reason. I also have the car that they drove to make sure I remember what I put. There are some notes that I do leave for myself too. That's why you see name highlighted in yellow. I haven't figured out what that is yet, and I know I need to figure it out. So that's my reminder that I still have to go back and solve that because I haven't yet. I also list the books that the characters will appear. So you see here, I have recurring characters at the top. Those are my characters that are going to appear in more than one book. The minor characters that might only appear in one book at a time are down below, and we'll get to that next. This is just the easiest way to know, like, okay, we haven't seen this person yet, but we'll see them here. Are we expected to see them again? You can see here too, I have this one character, Jen Jones, was 24 in 2003. That was just simply my first reference to her. So then as time changes, I know what her age, so I can do simple math instead of trying to do more intricate math. I wanted to show a different one for anyone who's working on fantasy. I'm using this as an example. I'm using Harry Potter because I feel it's very recognizable for most people. Here is one of your big sections for fantasy writers, the world building. It is really important that you lay this stuff out for yourself. A lot of people are working on it within like notebooks and stuff, but I think this is really nice because it's already typed out. And then someone who is unfamiliar has it all with them for a second check for you. Also for a second check for yourself. And this is how you would use something like that for the continuity. What are the world building? What does Hogwarts look like? How is it broken down? What does it mean with that breakdown? So here we have the houses, we have the colors, we have the animals that are associated with it, and we have the values that are associated with it. Azkaban being a prison, the two other schools that come in the fourth book. And then you could increase that by putting in all of your descriptions. If you have other worlds, is your world completely made up that it's its own continent? Are there different lands in that continent? What is the climate like in those different places? What are the customs? All of those things would be things that you could put on your world building section. And I think for fantasy writers, it really pays to go into as much detail as possible in that section. If you have magic, this is the spells section is a great place to start laying all of that out. You can specifically reference your magic system, but if you have any kind of spells, this is really important to have those written out. How do they work? What does it look like? I didn't put it on here, but like for the killing curse, it's the green light. The green light is referenced so much. We want to make sure it stays green and it doesn't turn a different color. So that becomes another reference point for you.